7 disturbing speech changes that warn of dementia before memory loss. Hello, and welcome to Cure Whispers, your trusted companion on the journey to understanding and safeguarding your health and the well-being of your loved ones. Dementia is a silent thief. It doesn't announce itself with sudden memory loss, but instead creeps in through the way a person speaks, long before they forget names or faces. This is not a rare problem. Right now, over 55 million people worldwide are living with dementia. And in the United States alone, more than 6.7 million individuals, most over the age of 65, are affected. If nothing changes, experts predict this number could double by 2050. But this isn't just about statistics. Behind every number is a heartbreaking story. Families watch helplessly as their loved ones slip away, struggling to communicate, unable to recognize their own children, trapped in a mind that no longer functions the way it once did. Imagine waking up one day and finding that the words in your head don't come out the way they should. Imagine seeing frustration in your family's eyes as you repeat the same sentence over and over without realizing it. This is what dementia does. It robs a person of their voice, their dignity, and eventually their identity. But what if we could see the warning signs before it's too late? What if we could intervene early and slow down the progression? The first step is recognizing the changes in speech, the silent signals the brain sends long before memory fails. The sooner we act, the better the chances of preserving the essence of who we are. Before we dive into today's crucial topic, take a moment to subscribe to Cure Whispers. By doing so, you'll never miss an important update on health, well-being, and the latest medical insights that could make a real difference in your life and the lives of those you love. And if you find this topic valuable, don't forget to leave a like and share this video. Every interaction helps spread awareness, ensuring that more people recognize these vital health signs before it's too late. Now, let's begin. 1. Unknowingly replacing words with the wrong ones. It often starts so subtly that no one notices, not even the person experiencing it. At first, it's just a misplaced word, a small slip of the tongue. But as time passes, these mistakes become more frequent, more bizarre, and more alarming. Unlike normal word-finding struggles, where a person hesitates or searches for the right term, dementia causes a far more unsettling phenomenon. Words are replaced with completely unrelated ones, and the speaker has no idea it's happening. Take Eleanor, for example, a former schoolteacher who spent decades guiding young minds with eloquence and precision. But lately, something had changed. One afternoon, she gestured toward the television and casually said, "Can you turn off the big picture?" Her grandson chuckled, thinking she was being playful. But then it happened again. This time, she asked, "Can you grab some milk from the closet?" And later, she absent-mindedly stroked her golden retriever while calling him a soft chair. The odd substitutions kept happening, and what once seemed humorous soon became deeply unsettling. Her family grew concerned when they gently corrected her, and she simply blinked in confusion, unaware that anything was wrong. A visit to a neurologist confirmed their fears. Eleanor wasn't just forgetful. Her brain was misfiring, struggling to connect words with meanings. The pathways responsible for language were deteriorating, and without intervention, things would only get worse. 2. When conversations become a struggle. At first, it's easy to dismiss. Maybe they're just tired, distracted, or preoccupied. But as time goes on, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. Someone who once thrived in discussions, who could hold a room captive with their stories, now struggles to keep up. The rhythm of conversation starts to feel overwhelming, especially in groups. Words blur together. Thoughts slip away before they can be formed into sentences, and responding takes longer than it should. They may frequently ask, "Wait, what was that?" or nod along with a vacant expression, pretending to follow along but not truly processing the conversation. This was exactly what happened to George, a 72-year-old retired architect who had always been the center of attention at family gatherings. He had a gift for storytelling, weaving tales about his travels, his work, and the lessons life had taught him. But lately, something had changed. At a holiday dinner, his daughter noticed he was quieter than usual. Instead of leading conversations, he sat back, offering only brief nods and a strained smile. When someone asked him a direct question, he hesitated, not out of shyness, but because the right words seemed to be just out of reach. At first, his family assumed it was just part of getting older. But then, during a lively discussion about a past family trip, George leaned toward his wife and murmured, "I can hear them, but it's like the words don't stick. Everything's moving too fast for me to catch up." Alarmed, his wife scheduled an appointment with a neurologist. The test revealed something they had feared but weren't ready to face. George's brain was no longer processing conversations the way it once did. It wasn't just forgetfulness. It wasn't just distraction. It was an early sign of dementia, and if left unaddressed, it would only get worse. This slow unraveling of communication can feel isolating, both for the person experiencing it and for their loved ones. The ability to follow and engage in conversation is something most people take for granted until it starts slipping away. And when it does, it's often one of the first heartbreaking clues that something is deeply wrong. 3. When the voice loses its spark. A voice carries more than just words. It holds warmth, excitement, sorrow, and love. It's how we connect, how we comfort, how we express the things we feel even when words fail us. But in the early stages of dementia, something eerie begins to happen. The color drains from a person's voice. Conversations that were once full of energy and expression become flat, almost robotic. The highs and lows of speech, the laughter when sharing a joke, the tenderness when saying, "I love you," start to fade, replaced by an emotionless, mechanical tone. This was the first thing Lucy's daughter noticed. Lucy, a 73-year-old former schoolteacher, had always been known for her lively personality. She had a way of making even the most mundane stories sound exciting, her voice rising and falling with enthusiasm. But then, almost overnight, that changed. One afternoon, while chatting about her favorite TV show, Lucy's daughter expected to hear the usual excitement in her mother's voice. Instead, Lucy simply stated, "It was fine. Nothing special," in a tone so flat it felt unsettling. There was no joy, no irritation, just a dull monotone. Her daughter brushed it off at first. Maybe she was just tired, but the pattern continued. When discussing the birth of her grandson, Lucy simply said, "He's here now," without the warmth and elation she would have once radiated. When talking about a frustrating experience at the store, all she said was, "It happened." That's all. Concerned, her family took her to a doctor, where neurological testing confirmed their fears. It wasn't just a shift in personality, it was the early grip of dementia dulling her ability to express emotions. 4. When thoughts slip away mid-sentence. A conversation should flow naturally, with ideas connecting effortlessly like a well-worn path. But for those in the early stages of dementia, that path is littered with gaps, thoughts that start but never reach their destination. They begin speaking with confidence, only to stop abruptly, searching for a word, a phrase, or even the reason they started talking in the first place. These moments of blankness aren't just occasional lapses. They become a frustrating pattern that slowly erodes the ability to communicate. Thomas, an 81-year-old retired engineer, had always been a precise speaker, choosing his words carefully. But over time, his sentences became riddled with interruptions. One afternoon, as he sat with his grandson reminiscing about his childhood, he began, "When I was about your age, I used to..." But then, silence. His brow furrowed, his mouth opened slightly as if grasping for the next words. And after a long pause, he finally sighed, "Never mind. I lost it." At first, his wife assumed he was just tired or distracted, but the problem worsened. During dinner, he started to describe a book he had loved in his youth. It was about a man who... He stared at his plate, frustration clouding his face. "I know this. I just had it." The words refused to come. A visit to the neurologist confirmed the heartbreaking truth. His brain was struggling to maintain the thread of conversation, a telltale sign of early cognitive decline. As the condition progressed, these gaps grew wider, turning everyday conversations into exhausting mental battles. For Thomas, words were slipping away faster than he could catch them. 5. Echoes of uncertainty, the unnoticed repetition. Repetition is often brushed off as distraction, stress, or simple forgetfulness. But when a person unconsciously asks the same question over and over, without realizing they already have the answer, it could be a sign of something much deeper. Dementia disrupts short-term memory and speech processing, leaving the brain unable to recognize that a phrase has already been spoken. To the person experiencing it, each time feels like the first. Lisa, a 69-year-old retired schoolteacher, had always been sharp and articulate. But one evening, as she sat with her husband after dinner, she suddenly asked, "Did I take my medicine today?" He smiled and gently reminded her, "Yes, sweetheart, you took it right after we ate." She nodded, seemingly satisfied. But barely 2 minutes later, she asked again, "Wait, did I take my medicine?" This time, her husband frowned. "Yes, you did just a moment ago." She looked at him, slightly puzzled, then nodded once more. But then it happened again, and again. By the fourth time, he felt a chill creep into his chest. At first, he thought she was just distracted, maybe overtired. But soon, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Simple conversations became loops, phrases repeating as if her mind was resetting itself every few minutes. It wasn't just about forgetting facts. It was as if her brain couldn't hold onto the response at all. Concerned, her family took her to a specialist. After a series of tests, the diagnosis confirmed their fears. This was an early sign of dementia. What once seemed like a minor quirk was, in reality, a glimpse into the slow unraveling of memory itself. 6. The confusion of time and identity. When language slips away. Language is more than just words. It's structure, order, and meaning. But when dementia begins to take hold, even the fundamental rules of speech start to unravel. The ability to differentiate between past and present, or singular and plural, begins to fade. Sentences lose their logical flow, leaving both the speaker and the listener confused. What seems like minor grammatical mistakes can actually be a crucial warning sign of cognitive decline. Frank, a retired mechanic with a sharp wit, had always prided himself on telling detailed stories about his past. But one afternoon, while reminiscing with his daughter, something fell off. As he flipped through an old photo album, he pointed at a picture of his son and said, "She was such a good boy." His daughter blinked, assuming she misheard. "Dad, do you mean he?" she asked, laughing. Frank looked at the photo again and shrugged. "Yeah, that's what I said, didn't I?" She brushed it off, thinking nothing of it. But a few days later, during a chat about last Sunday's church service, he said, "I go to church yesterday." This time, there was no laughter. At first, these errors seemed harmless, just little slips here and there. But as the weeks passed, his sentences became more tangled. The wrong pronouns, the jumbled tenses. It wasn't just occasional forgetfulness. It was happening more often, turning once fluid conversations into fragmented puzzles. When his family finally took him for an evaluation, the doctors confirmed what they had feared. These speech distortions were an early sign of dementia. 7. When words slip away, the silent struggle for expression. Language is the bridge between thoughts and communication. But when dementia begins to take root, that bridge weakens. The ability to retrieve specific words diminishes, forcing the brain to rely on vague substitutions. Instead of saying refrigerator, someone might call it that cold thing. Instead of asking for a spoon, they may simply say, "Hand me the, that thing." These seemingly minor lapses are often dismissed as normal aging, until they become an everyday occurrence. Emma, a retired teacher who had once prided herself on her eloquence, began experiencing this frustrating struggle. Her family first noticed when she hesitated during conversations, grasping at words that refused to come. One morning, as she stood in the kitchen making breakfast, she turned to her husband and said, Can you grab the milk from, the chili box? Her husband chuckled. The fridge? Emma laughed along, brushing it off. Yeah, of course. I just had a little brain freeze. But the pattern continued. A week later, while setting the table, she pointed at the silverware drawer and said, "Can you hand me the scoopy thing?" Her son handed her a spoon, eyes flickering with concern. At first, they reassured themselves it was just forgetfulness. But when her hesitation turned into frustration and her words became increasingly jumbled, they knew something deeper was happening. A doctor's visit confirmed their fears. Emma was in the early stages of Alzheimer's. Conclusion: don't ignore the signs, take action today. So, we've now gone through 7 disturbing speech changes that warn of dementia before memory loss. These subtle shifts in language might seem harmless at first, but they can be some of the earliest red flags that the brain is struggling. If you or someone you love is experiencing these symptoms, don't dismiss them. Dementia isn't just about forgetting. It's about the slow breakdown of communication, reasoning, and identity. But here's the good news. Early detection gives us power. Recognizing these speech warning signs early allows us to seek medical guidance, adopt brain-healthy habits, and explore interventions that may help slow cognitive decline. Your brain's health is worth protecting, and every step you take now can make a difference. Don't wait until it's too late. Take action, spread awareness, and make brain health a priority today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe for more insights and share your thoughts in the comments below.